Hi Cancer, happy early birthday and welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your June 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, source will be in front of us. It's a 12 card spread with each of those cards representing a different house of the zodiac, starting with your sign, Cancer, representing the first house, all the way through to Gemini representing its 12th house. And once we get to that main spread, we'll pull an oracle card as well for some additional insight. As far as the main decks being used this month, for the main tarot, we have the UFO tarot. For the oracle deck, will be used in the Wisdom of the Oracle. And we're actually going to start the reading off our Roll Notes Astrology as we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, we have Taurus. So for you guys, Taurus is actually your 11th house of friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes. And astrologically speaking, it's a little quiet there now. We will have Mars in Taurus for pretty much the majority of June. And we did have Uranus there for quite some time, but it did move into Gemini not too long ago. Chiron will technically get in there as well toward the end of the month, I believe. But overall, Mars is the main character going through that sign this month. And that could be part of what's energizing that area of life for you guys. All right, we have 3. So third house energy for you guys is Virgo. And really, you just have the South Node wrapping up its transit through Virgo. But in general, third house points to communication, short journeys, and siblings. And I will say, as far as communication goes, we have Mercury that's going to be in your sign pretty much right at the start of June, and then toward the end of June it will start a retrograde, so it makes sense to see communication come up as significant for you this month. And we have the Sun. So currently the Sun is in your 12th house of Gemini, and it will be there for the first few weeks of June, and then of course on the 21st it'll be moving into your sign. So 12th house points to spirituality, blind spots, and mental health. So we'll keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread. So for the first house energy, which generally points to personality, self-awareness, and appearance, we have the 6 of Cups. So this could just be saying that you might be feeling a little bit nostalgic this month. You might actually find yourselves just drifting away right into your own thoughts. Just, thinking about maybe a time or a place from the past. Just for whatever reason, that nostalgia could be coming up to the surface for you guys this month. All right, for your second house energy, which points to possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the King of Cups. So this is Scorpio energy here. So it could just be saying that the key to your finances and experiencing some growth there this month could be more around tapping into your creative side, and maybe keeping those ideas under wraps as far as when you express it to others. You might want to be a little bit more tight-lipped around it, but it looks like at least that would be the key to you guys having some growth and success in that area of life this month. All right, so for your third house energy, which like we said, we saw that come up with the dice as well, we have the Queen of Cups. So this is actually the card for your sign. So to see this come up, it could just be saying that on the one hand, you're going to be feeling very much in your comfort zone when it comes to your communication, right? It could just be saying that when you do communicate, you're going to present yourselves in a very realistic, accurate light. And, and part of that could be, like we said, we are pretty much going to have Mercury in your sign for all of June. So that could be mainly what's at play there. All right, so for your fourth house energy, which points to home, roots, and family, we have the 10 of Swords. So seeing this here could just be saying that, maybe some ideas that you might have held on to from the past, maybe they're finally crashing and burning, right? So on the more positive side of things, it could just be saying that you could finally put that behind you if it has been causing you a lot of stress and anxiety. But of course, on the more negative side of things, it probably won't be the most comfortable feeling as you're going through it, right? So could also just be saying that maybe when you're in your home environments this month, you might get a little bit too stuck in your head. So maybe you're being encouraged to get out a little bit more to avoid that if you do feel that energy coming to the surface for you. For your fifth house energy, which generally points to romance, creativity, and children, we have the Four of Cups. So this is actually a Cancerian energy here. And yeah, it could just be saying that maybe you could just find that you're a little bit disappointed when it comes to offers you might be receiving as far as romance goes. But if this is more of creativity as well, going back to what we were saying, it could just be saying that maybe it'd be best to keep them in the wraps for the time being until you feel comfortable with where it is and then come forward with it at that point. All right, for your sixth house energy, which points primarily to health, work, and daily routines, we have judgment. So yeah, could just be saying that maybe, especially if it's more of a work thing, could just be saying that maybe something that you had attempted to work on in the past, but maybe it fell by the wayside. Could just be saying that could be coming back around for you guys this month to actually gain some traction on it, and maybe you'll have more people willing to work with you on it as well. All right, so for your seventh house energy, which points primarily to partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have Death. So this is Scorpio energy here, and obviously the artwork definitely looks a little dramatic for this one, but it could just be saying that for some of you, maybe you're letting some partnerships go this month. So it doesn't have to be romantic, of course. It could just be maybe business partnerships, anything. Well, I mean, if we just look at the environment here, right, that doesn't look like the ideal dynamic to be in anyway. So if you are letting those connections go, I feel like it's ultimately because you realize that they're not playing out in a very healthy way anyway, right? So it's just for the best. For you know what, I'd rather just wash my hands of the situation. But yeah, again, similar to what I was saying with the fourth house energy, there might not feel super comfortable while you're going through it, but it does seem like ultimately something that will benefit you in the long run to let it go. All right, so for your eighth house energy, which points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Hierophant. So Taurus energy here, which is 11th house for you guys, and seeing this here could just be saying that maybe there's going to be people who might restore your faith around the situation. I feel like this could just be saying that they might be looking out for you in some way, right? If they do know maybe that you're going through some difficult times, right, they might come forward, and even if it's just giving you restoring your belief in yourself, as far as saying the right things to get you back on track rather than being more hands-on with the way they assist. But either way, looks like you're going to be able to have faith as far as that goes. All right, so for your ninth house energy, which generally points to philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the Fool. So yes, this could just be saying that this month maybe you are shedding some beliefs, right? Especially if they've been limiting you in some way, or just weighing you down with the heaviness of them all. Could just be saying that you could be shedding those things this month and actually just feeling a lot more light and free as a result. All right, so for your 10th house energy, which in general points to career and social status, we have the Page of Pentacles. So yeah, so this could just be one of those things that could be coinciding in this context with what we see with the Judgment energy, right? Where it could just be saying it's one of those things where something that you might have thought was dead and gone, right? Now all of a sudden it's getting back off the ground and you're able to put more energy toward again, right? Or this could just be saying that maybe you're going through those things in the past, right? To see what you could use now versus what has outlived its purpose, right? So it could just be one of those things too where you're organizing. Like, okay, now that this thing's coming back around, what could we still apply today? Versus, okay, maybe this won't work anymore, so we could scrap that part of the idea. But it looks like you'll be working on that either way. All right, so for your 11th house energy, we have the Magician. So yeah, I feel like this is saying at the very least you have the right people around you to get things off the ground if you need it, right? So maybe you know some resources or people who have access to resources that you might need to help you get some stuff off the ground, right? Whether it be separating from connections and partnerships that you know aren't good for you anymore, or just shedding some beliefs that you were holding on to from the past. It looks like this is saying the people in your environment could actually be helpful in getting you back on track. And for your 12th house energy, we have the Knight of Swords. So this is actually the natural Gemini energy, which for you guys, Gemini is your 12th house. So at least we have a good fit there. But yeah, this could just be saying that maybe you will be in your heads this month, but ultimately to break away some of those things that no longer fit, right? So it could just be saying, you're almost doing a bit of spring cleaning around your thoughts right now to um, which is this is a good time to do that in general for you guys because with all the energy going through your 12th house, that would be a good time to help clear it all out before it all before your season kicks off toward the end of June. All right, and bottom of the deck we have the King of Wands. So this is Leo energy here. So yeah, so this could just be saying that maybe a lot of what you're driving your decisions this month is going to be financially related, not necessarily financially motivated, right? Meaning that might not be the ultimate end result um, or the ultimate goal in the situation, but it could be something that you're mindful of as you move about how to navigate these things, right? We're like, okay, what resources can I put toward these things, right? Do I need to get more resources to take XYZ action, or do I already have it? Is there someone who could connect me with what I need, right? So I feel like that those could be the kind of things you're looking at this month. But we'll pull an oracle card and see what that adds to the mix. So like I mentioned, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom Oracle deck. I'm just going to give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. Alright, take this, get this out of the way, and we'll see what the card has to say. Alright, we have the Fates. There's the artwork and the number 17. So yeah, I mean, for some of these heavier energies that we do see, right? Like I said, maybe letting go of partnerships and connections that just don't serve you well anymore, things along those lines, could just be saying that this was fated to play out the way it is, but we'll see what it says. All right, essential meanings says fate, karma, acceptance that there are things you cannot change, and knowing what those things are. The Serenity Prayer sums up the meaning of this card. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are things in life you will never have control over. The conditions brought on by the evolution of the collective, by nature, and by your past experiences may be fated, preordained by spirit for a greater purpose you cannot understand in this lifetime. It may not be in your cards to understand why certain events occurred, but you can accept the mystery and work with what those events and your current circumstances have to teach you. This is the wisdom contained in the Serenity Prayer. So yeah, definitely a strong message there, right? Like we said, if there are some partnerships that you might need to shed, or maybe some things you're looking back on from your past that um, maybe needed to be released, it looks like it could just be saying that the timing was right for that now. The relationship message says other people are who they are. You can't change them. The challenge is to accept them as they are, not try to make them otherwise to suit you. This is a time to take a look at how you attempt to mold people to fit your view of how they should be so you can remain in a relationship and avoid discomfort. What if who they are and whatever is happening between you and them in this situation is perfect from the perspective of spirit? Now is the time to accept what you cannot change, even if it means that you honor yourself, spirit, and the other person by moving on. Love unconditionally, for each of us is on our own journey, and we cannot direct that of another. Be aware that this relationship is indeed fated, and you are meant to evolve into a better version of yourself as a result of it. So yeah, definitely a strong message there, right? Even if it's, especially the part where it says, even if you have to honor yourself, the other person, by moving away from the connection, that could be what that's pointing to there, right? But again, I feel like this is saying that ultimately the experience wasn't a waste in any way. Anyway, it was something that you needed to go through for soul growth. All right, and the prosperity message says your experience concerning prosperity and abundance are beyond. Your experiences concerning prosperity and abundance are beyond your personal control right now. You are being invited to accept what is unreservedly. This could be a temporary situation seemingly thrust upon you by outside forces, but there is an underlying purpose you can't see that has been determined by the fates. It could be a situation you are not prepared for, and you may not understand how it will benefit you on the moment. Do not fight the situation. Ride it out and see where it leads. Surrender to it, and the serenity you need to make good choices from here on out will be given to you. You will indeed flourish. So yeah, definitely an interesting message there, right? Because like I said, from what I'm seeing here, it looks like, to me, this points to something that maybe was attempted in the past, but maybe there wasn't enough support for it, but now it looks like it might, right? And then in this context, too, like we said, it could be one of those things where you're looking at, okay, what can I apply to the situation now that, maybe was useful back then, but maybe it isn't anymore, things along those lines, just looking at what resources you have available to you. But yeah, this is definitely an interesting reading for sure, and hopefully that resonated with you guys. Once again, happy early birthday, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.